So how bad is the real estate market going to get? And is there any way that you can profit from it? Whether you're a potential home buyer, or potential home seller, I'm going to answer those questions and more in today's video. Hey, my name is John Glutch. I am the team leader of the Glutch Group. We've got real estate teams in Phoenix, San Diego, and Las Vegas. And we sell hundreds of homes every year. So we're in the thick of this every single day. And I want to make sure you're fully informed on what's happening. So let me start off with the big picture, like what's happening big picture here in the market cycle. So here's what we're looking at, right? This is a roller coaster that we go on over and over again in various parts of our economy. And here's kind of how things have looked, right? Everything was awesome in February and March. And then in April, things got a little sideways. On down the roller coaster we've come, and we find ourselves here in like September, October in the pit of despair. That's right. In this place where everyone is terrified. The world is ending. Everything is bad. And listen, there are some bad things, no doubt about it. I'm going to be real clear about that in this video. But the good news is, we're on the horizon here. We've got some upside to come, which is exciting. So let me give you the stats, the numbers, the statistics on what this looks like on the chart. And this is my favorite index. This is the Cromford Market Index. This is a predictor of what's happening with prices. So the Cromford Index here is the black line. When that index, is 100, that's a normal market, meaning supply and demand are even. That's where they should be historically. And that's about a 3% appreciation rate per year, meaning home prices are going to go up about 3% per year. Everything's kind of in balance, right? And we see here in 2000, 2004, 2005, things went much higher on the index. And as a result, these blue lines are home appreciation. The price of homes went way up. Then, as you remember probably with not much fondness, the market crashed. Things got down into the 50s on the Cromford Market Index, and prices fell. And you can see that this index leads what's happening with pricing. It's predicting the future quite accurately. So here things are up, and then for the next months prices are up. Here the Cromford Index is down, and the prices go down there as well. Where are we now? Well, you can see the crazy roller coaster on the right-hand side of the chart here is when things went really, really crazy, COVID, right? And then they kind of got a little less crazy, but still hot, right? And the market index was, 300-ish at the bottom of the trough on the right-hand side there, then went back up. And then you can see the crazy fall. In fact, from much higher high and much more quickly than the crash of 2005, 2006. So it was pretty terrifying. That's, around the March, April timeframe, the index started falling way faster than we've ever seen it fall. And we were like, how low is this thing going to go? Well, luckily, you can see there on the far right-hand side of the chart, it's started to peter out. We've seen things softly land, which is a welcome relief. And I can show that if we zoom in here a little more clearly, this is this year. Index got as high as 480, and now has leveled off right there around 100. I'll move my face here so you can see that. Right at about 100. And it really kind of stabilized, soft landed. And I'm recording this here October 22nd, as you can say, and it started to fall a little bit again. Now, not nearly as fast as it was before, but it has started to creep below that 100 mark, meaning there is downward pressure on pricing, and it's not much, but a little bit. And we don't know how far that's going to go. That could get down a lot further, a little bit further. We're not totally sure. My bet is on it will go down some, but not a lot. And let me kind of tell you why I think that and why we did see the soft landing we saw. This next chart is supply and demand. So this is the Cromford Supply Index and Demand Index. So you can see the red here is the supply, the blue is the supply, and the red is demand. So you can see that what happened here is demand on the far right-hand side of the chart has fallen off a cliff. Why? Rising interest rates. Interest rates have caused people to pull out of the market because they cannot afford as much home as they would like, and they're just going to decide to continue to be renters. And so demand really fell off a cliff, and supply began to increase. Now, supply went from 20, which is insanely low, 30 days supply, 15 days supply of homes, and it went up very, very quickly as demand was going down very, very quickly, which is why the index fell so fast. But then they kind of met in the middle at below average. So now both are below average. What would have been tragic is, and what happened in 2007 and 8 was the supply of homes went through the roof because everybody got foreclosed, right? People used these crazy loans, way overpaid for houses, all kind of, financing issues. There was a lending crisis. And so all those people got foreclosed on. There was 1 million houses on the market. And so supply went through the roof. Well, and you can see that on the left-hand side of the chart there. Supply went up into the 200s. That's not what's happening now. You probably, if you own a home, have a great interest rate. You're probably not really interested in selling your home with a 3% interest rate to go buy one at 7%. Well, you're not alone. I'm in the same boat. So are lots and lots of people. Lots of people with rentals are in this. I have rental properties that have 3% interest rates. Why would I sell that, right? So lots of people sitting tight on their beautiful interest rate. And I don't anticipate supply skyrocketing. It is increasing a little bit right now, but not a ton. And it's outpacing demand a little bit, but not a ton. So I don't see the situation where the Cromford Index goes down into the 50s, 60s. I just don't see that happening. I think what's much more likely to happen is I think interest rates will get better in spits. They'll get a little bit better and then a little bit worse. It'll continue to go up and down. And as interest rates get better, demand will increase and potentially even supply will increase with it. I think you'll see this kind of balance tango continue. So let's talk a little bit about that, about interest rates and what those look like. Okay, here's some mortgage rates over history. And you can see here that mortgage rates have gotten a lot worse. You probably have a parent or a grandparent, or maybe even you remember when interest rates were 18%, right? My dad has his go-to story about, I remember when we paid 18% in whatever year, so that they have gotten a lot worse. And historically, the average is around 7%. So we're actually right around the average. That being said, it's pretty painful. If you got used to those 3, 4, 5% rates to go to 7, that feels like a shock to the system. And that's really what's happened here. What's helpful though, as you can see on this chart, is interest rates have always fallen during recessions. Always, 100% of the time. Now that's no guarantee that that's going to happen this time, but it's pretty likely. When recessions happen, the Fed decides, and what's happening right now is the Fed is trying to put the economy, a little bit of it into a recession, because things got out of control, right? House prices were going crazy. Cars were selling for way more than they should have said. And they said, okay, let's put the brakes on this thing. This is oversimplification of the system, but that's what's happened. And as soon as things get bad enough, the Fed will stop doing that. And there'll be a little bit of a recession to cause that. And interest rates will very likely go down, as has happened every single time. So everybody is predicting I don't know anybody nationally and the kind of the famous voices who are not saying we're either in a recession or going toward a recession. I think that's very likely. And what will happen is interest rates are going to start to fall. And I think those demand numbers will shoot up. Potentially supply will bump up a little bit as people are kind of okay getting rid of that 3% interest rate to go get maybe a 5% interest rate. So I think we're kind of in a good spot in terms of housing. I think we'll see more stability and things will kind of level out a little bit. And I don't anticipate this big catastrophe. I just don't really see that happening. So that's what I see happening here with interest rates. And here's what I want to talk about in terms of those interest rates. As you can see here, me on my first date. Sorry, I'm not better looking. That's how interest rates feel right now, right? Interest rates feel pretty ugly. They've gone up a lot lately. But the good news is you can date the rate. And so I want to talk a little bit about what to do if you're potentially buying a home. And then I'll talk in a second about what to do if you're potentially selling a home. What do you do with all this data, right? Well, if you're buying a home, I think you date the rate. I think you take this approach. You go, you know what? Maybe you'll get a little better looking at Adam Sandler over time. We'll give you a shot. And so what you do is you get yourself a house. Prices right now are kind of stabilizing, maybe going down a little bit, but not a lot. There's a lot more selection and there's not as many people fighting over those homes. You could see that demand on this curve was really low. So there's just so few people in the market fighting over these homes that you can get a better selection of properties. You can get better pricing. You can actually go get a deal. And might not be a bad time to jump in the market. This could be as a rental property, looking to make an investment in a property. This could be a property you're going to live in. And yes, you're going to have to kiss that frog. You're going to have a bad rate, right? The 7% is no fun. But the good news is you can refinance, right? So you marry the house, they say, and date the rate, because the home is yours forever. Once you get that thing, you get a nice deal on a property right now when there's not as much demand, and you lock in that price. And it's yours. That's your property, right? But the interest rate, while it's ugly, is very likely going to get better. Again, as evidenced by my chart here, showing how interest rates are very often going down during recessions. So plan on doing a refinance down the road. Now, is there a risk in that? Sure. There's no guarantee that interest rates will go down. However, what's the alternative, right? Interest rates go up or stay the same. You're still no worse off, right? You're actually better that you locked in at 7 instead of, let's say, they go to 9. Well, 7's better than 9, right? So you don't have any downside risk. All you have is upside risk, right? Downside risk, right? Things are going to get better for you. Or they're not going to get worse. So I like the idea right now of purchasing, but no hurry. You don't need to run out there and trip over yourself to find a house. get started, get a really great real estate team like the Glutch Group to help you out and start looking for properties, but not just looking for properties, looking for a deal. Like, let's find you a property that you're happy with, that you love, you think is fantastic, and or a property that you get a nice price on that you'd be really, really happy with. That is the approach I would be taking as a buyer right now. Now, if you're a seller, what would you do? If you're a seller, you're happy, you don't have a good reason to sell your house, good reason to leave, I would just hang on to your property. You got a nice interest rate, be thankful you got that, be happy you've got all the equity you probably have, and consider possibly going out and making an investment in a property. I would just sit tight on your property. Now, if you need to sell, right, you're moving, or you need to sell to buy another property, I think that's a real viable option right now, is if you're looking to make a move up, right? Like you want to buy a bigger, better property. This might not be a bad time to do that. And it would be potentially a good reason to sell, is to sell, capitalize on the equity in your property, and go out again while all those opportunities exist on the buying market to find yourself a deal, get a deal. Again, your interest rate's going to suck. There's going to be a little bit of a shock there. But I think there's this neat buying window right now that exists that may not exist in 3 to 6 months. I think what will very likely happen is those interest rates drop. There'll be a lot of buyers who are waiting around for interest rates to drop, who jump into the market. You'll be way ahead of them if you bought now while that's not happening. And then when those interest rates go down, you just refinance, but you got a deal. You got a property before all those people waiting around for interest rates to drop jump in the market. And that is happening. We're seeing that in the data. Every time rates fall by a point or so, we see a big flood of pendings. It is happening every single time, and I think that's going to continue to happen. You want to avoid that time. That's not really the time to be buying, is when everyone else is who's been waiting around jumps in the market to buy a property. Now, we do have solutions for that high interest rate problem. And I'll link to that in the notes here of a video that I did on how to get an interest rate that's 3% better than par. So right now in the 7%, we do have several loan products that are in the 4s, and some of them don't cost you anything. So you're just a 4% interest rate with no upfront cost at all. They're spectacular loan products, and they have ups and downs like everything else, but they're a really good option if you're looking to capitalize on this little window I'm talking about. So we could potentially get you kind of the best of both worlds, right? You get an interest rate that's in the 4% range, at today's rates, roughly 3% below what the average is. And you capitalize on that buying window where there's an opportunity to jump in and get a deal where other people are sitting on the fence waiting for interest rates to lower. You get in there during that time and find yourself a deal. So some good opportunities if you're looking to be a buyer there. And again, as a seller, you might sit tight a little bit unless you've got an opportunity to move up, get a different property, get an investment property, something like that. Then selling might make some good sense in that scenario. Hope that helps. Please do reach out to us. We'd be happy to look at your specific situation, your numbers, your house, all that, give you a real prediction on today's exact interest rates, what your home would sell for, what you might get for your money out there in the marketplace as a buyer. Thanks so much. Hope this has been helpful, and look forward to talking to you soon.